everyone, and welcome to Excellent Conversations. Today's interview is sponsored by Excellent Nutrition and Fitness, helping office and computer professionals disrupt the cycle of chronic stress through food, mood, and movement. I'm your host, Heather Lynn Darby. The title of today's segment is What's New with Audio Exercises for the Brain? An interview with Dr. Jim Otis. We'll be discussing new developments in the area of audio exercises for the brain and how enhancing brain function can improve stress management, sleep, digestion, and overall health. Dr. Otis is a board-certified functional neurologist and practiced for 35 years, specializing in drug-free treatment for people with brain injuries and strokes. He developed and patented Brain Time, an easy-to-use at-home technology that enhances brain function in just 10 minutes a day. Brain Time has helped thousands of people to think clearly and work efficiently, recover more quickly from brain injuries and strokes, sleep deeply and wake up rested, and reduce the effects of stress. He's graciously consented to this interview to share extensive knowledge and experience so every office and computer professional can understand how to get the benefits of meditation without spending so much time practicing. Welcome, Dr. Otis. Thank you for joining us for this interview.
Well, thank you, Heather Lynn. I'm really pleased to be here.
So my first set of questions is going to be about your background and experience in the field of audio exercises for the brain, so our audience can understand who you are, where you're coming from, and how you got started on this. Then we'll move into your latest ideas and thoughts about audio exercises for the brain, so they can understand how they can apply what you've learned to their situations in today's world. So let's just jump right in so you can share your latest ideas about these audio exercises. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of background, education, and experience?
Yes. So I've been in practice for 35 years, and I'm a chiropractor board certified as a functional neurologist. So that means one of the specialties is I treat people with brain injuries, and then also learning disabilities and a group of issues where their brain isn't working as well as it could functionally. So there's not a tumor. We're not using pharmaceutical approaches. We're using other more actually effective for these kinds of conditions approaches. So the audio, I got interested in the audio, probably 20 years ago. By that time, I'd already specialized in treating people with brain injuries. So that's who was being referred to me. I had a person with a brain injury who came back in. I'd seen her before, and she came back in and said, I'm getting really good results with binaural beats, which is a type of audio, listening technology. And so that piqued my interest, as I think it would for anybody who's treating somebody. I'm getting good results, so I want to look into that more. And I began working with different ways of combining that technology and then developing something better. And we can talk later if you think the audience will be interested in the neurophysiology of what we're doing.
Well, I sure am. So we can definitely dive into that.
Okay, good. So, but anyway, I developed a very new way of using stimulus that you listen to jumpstart the brain into a healthy style of functioning. And it was really helpful for my people with brain injuries. So and we can geek out a little bit here. Brain injuries are hard to treat. People's brain is fragile. You have to go slow. Most people get better automatically just with time with a brain injury, but some people don't. And they have what's called post-concussion syndrome. Mm-hmm. And then that can be a challenge to treat, whether you're trying to do that with speech language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, acupuncture, chiropractic, no matter what it is, it can be hard to treat. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I developed something for that population, the brain injury crowd. But then here's the key point for today's conversation is I started noticing that, and my patients, that it was helpful for other people too, who hadn't had brain injuries. Mm. People who were just having a hard time sleeping, for example. And they would come in and say, hey, I'm really getting better sleep with this listening thing. And I'd had trouble for years. Or seniors were coming in and saying, I can remember words more easily. I'm not forgetting who that person's name is or what this thing is called. So in essence, in neuroscience, we call it generalized. We did one thing, listen to these sounds, and then it helped a wide range of conditions, and including kids with their homework, and we just a whole wide range. So that's when we started offering it to the public. We patented it and have a couple patents on it, and it's been spreading mostly by word of mouth. And we have users on doctors recommending it on 4 continents, people around the world using it. So that's how I got into it. And then one aspect of what we hear was I can handle stress better. And so that became a real boon for a lot of doctors, natural healthcare doctors especially, but other MDs and other folks, saying, hey, here's an effective stress management system. So what you do is you put in a set of earbuds or a set of headphones and listen for 5 minutes. You do that twice a day. And what that does, Heatherland, is it helps your brain communicate more effectively. It makes it more flexible. So, and we need that to deal with challenges. So, and I want to put something in context here. Stress is not bad. So, it's just not bad. We just have to be able to manage it.
That's
so
right.
If we're going to go out and do anything challenging, let's take exercise, run, or lift weights, that's stressful. And in order to accomplish that, we need to really activate our stress system. And then when we're done, we relax. So flexibility is the name of the game. We move into a challenge and then we relax from it. And that flexibility starts in our brain. So we want challenges. That's how we learn and grow. That's how we build our character, our body, our emotional skills. Everything is by taking on more and more challenges. But we also need to be able to integrate it in a way that doesn't overwhelm us. And that all again is in our brain. The flexibility in our brain to learn and grow and take on new challenges and relax and integrate it all.
I often talk about allostatic load, the total amount of stress in our life from all sources, as that relates to the fight and flight, and then the rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic stimulation, which is the resilience, and that being able to move back and forth, that resilience. I love how you said that it's generalized, because I often say this resilience spills over onto other areas. You get the benefit in if you exercise and you induce that stress and then get the resilience and strength and growth, that resilience can spill over and make you more resilient to emotional stress. So
Absolutely.
I love that concept, and I like that it carries over into, the science, the neurology, of the why that's behind this phenomenon. So, my nutrition and fitness coaching practice is geared toward that stressed out, that chronically stressed, office and computer worker.
Yeah.
So how does that relate to nutrition and digestion and like metabolism to help mitigate those lifestyle diseases that this population might experience, the diabetes, the metabolic syndrome, even, cardiovascular problems come from stress. So how can these types of exercises impact like physical health?
There's 2 key pieces that I'm tracking in this conversation. One is I really like how you said allostatic load. And then that just means the total aggregate amount of stress that you're under. And that includes physical stress, emotional stress, dietary stress, lack of sleep, like all those different factors all combine together to cause stress. So if you haven't had a good night's sleep, your tolerance for stress is lower. If you have a lot of inflammation in your body and an infection, your ability to handle stress is lower. If you eat an inflammatory diet, if you sit, like we were talking about.
Sitting is a secret hidden stressor.
It sure is. And so, and people, prolonged sitting is like smoking in terms of risk factor. It really ups your chances of getting a lot of different diseases. So that is just really, and I believe, Heatherland, you just you pick the easiest places and the most effective places to lower your stress. So make sure you get good sleep, get out and get some movement, and, eat a few vegetables, they pick the easy stuff, and then recognizing that we all have huge challenges, huge time pressures. We just want to be really effective with how we manage our stress. So that was concept number 1, the allostatic load. And we have a lot of ways of helping reduce that. And then the next concept is our brain. If we just go strictly look at our brain, then the flexibility in our brain has everything to do with our ability to handle stress, that resilience that you talked about, our ability to digest our food, our ability to regulate our emotions. So if somebody comes in and they've been totally healthy and they have a hit on the head and they have a concussion, and they come in to see me, or not just anyway, they really likely they have a hard time, their digestion goes south. Their digestion gets worse. if somebody has a stroke and they go into rehab, this prophylactically they're put on a proton pump inhibitor because they're likely to get an ulcer. So the recognition here is damage to the brain causes damage to your digestion. Okay? And it causes an impairment in sleep. And it causes an impairment in your ability to regulate your emotions. So the brain affects all of those things. And you had talked earlier about is both vagal output and vagal input. That's part of the parasympathetic part of your brain. And if you want your brain working well in order to support your digestion, if we're going to go down that track. So, and that's how like people with anxiety often get, it can lead to irritable bowel syndrome. The brain affects bowel and it goes back and forth. It's always bi-directional. So, and I'd like to swing it back to the audio, kind of stuff. When you're listening to Brain Time is the program that I've developed, then what happens is you'll hear little sounds, one ear and then the other ear. And there's just one or two in a row, little beeps in a row, and then it stops. There's a lot of silence. And then our brain is expecting and anticipating, when is that next beep coming? And it builds flexibility in our brain so that it can shift gears, so that it can go from waking to sleeping, sleeping to waking, relaxing to focusing and dealing with the stress, relaxing, and then having a more broad, restful kind of awareness.
Yeah, that leads me into another question real quick. Can you explain the difference between you mentioned binaural beats before, and I've also heard of isochronic tones, which I'm not totally sure what that is. But can you explain what's the difference between those types of listening programs and the pulsed audio it's what's new about yours?
It's a great question. So a binaural beat is, for those of the audience who don't know, you're listening to you listen through headphones and you hear a steady wah, 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 wah in the background, or not. It can be subliminal. But it's a steady rhythm, and it's non-changing. And generally, Heather, then you'll take you'll go in the neurologically active brainwave regions with these binaural beats, the places where brain cells like to oscillate already. And then you put a binaural beat in there, and the brain cells start to line up with it. They entrain. It's an entrainment technology, is a technical term. So your brain cells will start to follow along with the wah, 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 wah. Your brain cells will be doing the same thing.
Right. So they build that frequency by having slightly different frequencies in each ear. And then the brain tries to reconcile that, and it creates that wah, wah sound.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that creates some kind of coherence, communication between the right and the left sides of the brain.
And that causes that entrainment because the brain is trying to reconcile it.
Well, yes, and isochronic beats, and that's a non-binaural beat, which is just it can be the same thing, wah, 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 wah. And that's not coming through both ears, but it's one tone, isochronic, instead of binaural beats, which is slightly different tones. But
anyway, so that's a steady kind of thing. So what's the difference with the pulsed?
That's the great question. The main thing that I want to say here is that the binaural beats have some efficacy, but it's not natural for the brain. So those steady beats, those steady kind of thing is not how your brain works. Your brain is constantly shifting around, speeding up, slowing down, as we need to, as we think one thought and do one thing and whatever, move our hands, that kind of stuff. So that's called an entrainment technology. And what we're doing with Brain Time is the little pulsed sounds. We're evoking a response. And so we give a stimulus to the brain, and then the brain reacts. So it's homeopathic. And so then you'll notice that a lot of it is syncopated. It'll go beep, 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 or beep, beep, beep. And so it's not steady. And so that creates a flexibility in the brain that's more natural. And it works faster. With binaural beats, you usually listen for half an hour to an hour. And we really want something that's faster and more effective. So with this, you just listen a few minutes, and it evokes the change in your brain.
Don't we all want something that's faster and more effective?
Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Yeah. So how did you come up with the idea for the pulse, since that was kind of the existing technology?
Yeah, well, started to work with people with using binaural beats and just experimenting with, with my patients and finding out what worked. And at first we started playing with combinations. Well, like a 3 hertz binaural and a 4.5 hertz binaural, something like that. And combining them, and we found, hey, that some of this was helpful. But then we started finding that shorter and shorter and shorter was more helpful. And one of the reasons, Heather Lynn, is that people with brain injuries are so sensitive that you can't do much stimulation, or it short circuits things. It blows them out. For example, people walk into my office and then we have to shut the blinds because it's just too dark, or they're wearing sunglasses, or this loud noise just it bothers them.
Overstimulating.
So, yeah. Oh, that's a good word. And so we have to be. We tell people with a brain injury, rest. Don't. You really have to get rest. And so we can't do what the kind of rehab with a brain injury person that we would do with somebody who is more healthy, because it'll tire them out too fast. Mm-hmm. So then I was really looking for, out of necessity with this population, very like homeopathic kinds of treatment. But then the benefit of that, and let's play some sounds for people so they can get a sense of it. The benefit of that is that it's little light stimulation, but it will not overload somebody with a brain injury. And then it'll also, it turns out to be more effective, and we can get more done faster. So should we just
play?
Do
you have it handy that you can play them?
I do.
Yeah, let's try that.
Let's go just a minute here.
I had been listening to it for the last couple of weeks, and my experience was similar. I found that memories started to kind of burble to the surface, and they were strong memories, which I would rather maybe have not remembered spontaneously. But then I found that after they had kind of burbled to the surface and popped and I had the memory, they were kind of dissipated and more gone. I found that my ideas were kind of springing a little faster, like my brain was popping, connected a little better. And it was a really interesting experience.
I'm glad to hear that. I want to keep in touch, Heather Lynn. Let me know how things progress for you.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah.
So do you have those queued up?
I do.
Let's take a listen.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Is this coming through, Heather?
It is coming through on my side. And these beeps would be on different sides.
Yeah. So there's I wish I had prefaced it a little more. You did hear little tiny beeps, beep beep, and so you heard a piece of it here. And there's background noise here in this house, so I can replay that again if you suggest. But you'll hear these little beeps. They're only on one ear or the other. So it'll go beep, beep, or beep, beep, back and forth, side to side.
Yeah, can you play them one more time real quick and we'll listen?
I can. Okay. Okay.
And it's really pleasant, I found. I made a few more notes on, there was 6 different tracks, and they focused on different things. Well, one was focus. There was one for sleep. There was one for resilience. Let's see, another one for relax. And my experience was that I put the earbuds in, and for some of them, I was able to do other things in the background, check my email.
Yeah.
I put on focus when I wanted to write, like when I told you those ideas were kind of popping. I was like, I'm just going to leave this on repeat for a little while. And other ones I found that I wasn't able to do other things while I was listening. I found that resilience, where it involved like a little bit of turning of the head, I found I had to pay more attention and put on other things. And then there was another one, mindset. It has a little bit of you're speaking in the background and asking a few question prompts. And I found that I wasn't able to do other activities while that one was going either. So it's really flexible. Like you can incorporate this into a regular routine if you're listening to breath, the relax or the focus. And if you were doing some other kind of like meditation, you can kind of amp it up with the resilience and the mindset. And yeah, it only takes like 5 minutes. It's been remarkable.
Yeah. And okay, so two different thoughts coming out of that. Yeah. And number one, I'm glad you discovered, hey, I can just put these in and do my creative work. I do that as well. And that's what we do with, especially put relax on in the background or focus on in the background while you're doing that.
Yeah.
And then you're right. It's kind of remarkable. 5 minutes, you just do it. You do it while you do your email. It's like brushing your teeth. You just do it, and it should be pleasant.
Yes.
It absolutely. That's what if it's not pleasant, then back off and do a little bit less. It's inherently pleasant.
That's where I think the memory started to burble up. I maybe overdid it, and my brain was like connected.
Yeah, maybe.
So I did back to the 5 or 10 minutes, and not let it go over half an hour. Because more is not always better. Yeah,
not necessarily. And okay, here's something really cool. There's a widespread survey, a norm survey, a research tool called the Perceived Stress Index. And it's a series of questions that you answer, and then we can tell by how that scores how prone you are to different diseases. So how much level of stress there is. And it's just widely used. And so what we did an experiment. We took 10 people who had never listened to Brain Time, and then we took that test, that survey. And then we had them listen for 5 minutes twice a day for a month, and then redid that survey. And so their scores, the aggregate scores, went from high stress to moderate stress, which is really significant. And that was after 5 minutes twice a day for a month. So, and that's what we encourage people to, try it for a month. Like you've been going a couple weeks here, try it for a month, and then we'll see how you do. And chances are you'll be sleeping better. You'll notice, over the previous month, I've handled stress pretty well this month, and I'm thinking more clearly and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and being more productive at work and having, maybe easier relationships at home. Yeah. So there can be a lot of side benefits where that resilience spills out onto other areas of your life.
Yep. And you know what I really like too? It helps you in the moment, your brain work better, but it makes your brain, one of our brain's job is to learn. So, like to learn from experience. And that kind of what differentiates us as humans from other animals. We have an even better ability to learn. And so that includes how to manage stress. It includes physiological learning. It includes things like meditation and mindset. And so, the thought patterns that go through our brain, that our habitual thought patterns, they're just ways our brain is firing like over and over and over. Our happiness levels, those are pretty stable over time. We have often what kind of happiness baseline that goes up and down, but doesn't shift that much. That's a pattern in our brain. We can shift it. And just like a stroke rehab is shifting our brain, doing our mindset work, handling our affirmations, whatever it is, you repeat it over and over to help your brain get it. But if you add brain time in, your brain will get it faster. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Did I explain that clearly?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And you don't have to have already been, injured to experience the benefit. You're just starting from like a higher set point and using the same technology and patterns of listening to it 5 minutes twice a day to even enhance your own happiness baseline and stress resilience.
Yes.
Great. So what developments do you see in the immediate horizon or kind of on the long term? Is there anything cool in development in this field?
Yeah, there's total. And number one, things are just changing so fast. One in my immediate world, one of the things that I'd like to do is to take this and make it more interactive with your brain. And in the sense that we do put on headbands, measure EEG patterns, and then individualize the feedback, i.e. the evoked, those beeps, the beeps that you hear, for that particular person, for you at that moment with this task that you're doing.
Oh, wow.
And then to also gamify it for kids, because these rhythms, it's the timing in those rhythms that's what's important. And we can do like Wii board kind of games with this and different kinds of timing stuff. So, this is not imminent, but it's definitely in the back of my mind, in my heart. This is where we're going with this particular piece. And
that's really incredible, because that can shift the future. If people are under less stress, like the next generation, that's just going to ripple out.
You're right.
It could change the world.
You're right. And I know that I imagine you've talked about this in your previous episodes. We have genetic effects on our lives. It's like the genes we're born with affect how tall we are, our happiness, like all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then also, there's just as important as which genes we have. Are they turned on or turned off?
Right.
And so the epigenetic effect, and that's where stress comes in. And so if you're under chronic stress and you're not shifting out of that stress, mm-hmm. then it causes epigenetic changes that affect your health, affect your cardiovascular function, all those diseases you mentioned at the beginning.
Yes.
And so at any rate, we can shift no matter what set of cards we're born with, mm-hmm. our genes. We can shift how they're being played and how it affects our life. And so this technology is one of lots. But you're right; it has a huge implication for our health as a species, whatever.
Right, and that personalization, really, when you're talking about like instant biofeedback impacting the algorithm that's generating the tones, the pulse tones, and do you anticipate that's going to create more effectiveness or quicker results, or both? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How far out is that?
I'm going to guess 3 years, 2 years.
Things are happening so fast. I can't wait.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So what final thoughts do you have to help motivate office and computer professionals with these audio exercises so they can start getting the benefits?
Well, one is just try Brain Time. You're going to put a link, as I understand it.
I am. I'll mention where they can find out more. So
try it for a month. Just do it. Just make it a habit. Like tie it to brushing your teeth, and before you get up, tie it to something in your already existing schedule. Listen for 5 minutes twice a day when you first sit down at your computer, or however. And then just it's really easy. So that's one of the reasons we healthcare practitioners are recommending this. It's easy to do. It's sometimes easier than going to a yoga class. Yoga class is good. But do this. It's just so simple. And then that's my major desire right now, is just try it, find that it works for you. Yeah. So that's, it's easy. We're doing that very intentionally. You remind me your last question.
I was just wondering if you had any final thoughts so they can start getting the benefits of meditation without spending so much time practicing. Like you said, yoga, that takes a little while to get to the gym, change clothes, they spend the hour or hour and 15 in the class, change back, drive back to wherever work or whatever. That's a huge time commitment. And, 5 minutes twice a day can, lead right in with things that you're already doing. Like you say, tie it to a cue that you're already doing. Brushing your teeth or checking your email, things that you're already doing, being like, okay, I'm going to do this at the same time. And then boom, check that off my, list.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do all the other things too. I really love your kind of urging and coaching to not sit so much. I'm standing right now. I like that as my way of working. It's my preferred way of working. So that's another. I
have a leaning chair at my standing desk. So it kind of wobbles.
Yeah, and then take breaks. We could spend a whole nother time about like all of the hygiene around how to do your day to reduce stress.
Oh yeah.
This audio technology that we talked about right now is a new, unique way to supplement that. It's all important.
I love how you said that it's a supplement. Don't stop doing all the great things you already have. It's not a substitute. It's a quick add-on that doesn't even take any additional time and enhances the benefits across the board.
That's
Oh.
well put. Well put.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Otis. This has been a great interview. I'm sure all the office and computer professionals in our audience learned a lot about these pulsed audio exercises for the brain and how they can apply it in their own situations right away. So thank you very much for sharing your expertise and experiences so graciously. And
Great.
thank you, all the office and computer professionals in our audience, for joining us for this fantastic presentation on how you can get better results and get the numerous health benefits of meditation without spending so much time practicing. I'd like to invite you to try out Brain Time and experience the benefits in your own life. Go to xlnt.link/braintime to get your first month risk-free. That's xlnt.link/braintime. Once again, I'm Heather Lynn Darby, and thanks for joining us for an excellent conversation sponsored by Excellent Nutrition and Fitness. Visit my website, heatherlynndarby.com, where you can access free resources on nutrition and fitness for busy professionals. Please join us to continue this conversation in the Facebook community, Excellent Vitality Experiment, where we're exploring how to disrupt the cycle of chronic stress through food, mood, and movement. Have a great day.